so many people are sleeping on this graphics card right now. I know this because I'm constantly seeing it in stock on places like Mercari for not outrageous prices, and then I'm usually buying it. Let's have a look. All right, so this video is definitely geared towards two different types of people, and honestly, both of them probably make up a majority of my audience. First up is you PC flippers out there just like myself. I know a lot of you are just getting by, and you're pretty much bottlenecked by how many GPUs you can get, and once you do finally snag one up, then you're able to finally get another gaming PC flip. That's certainly how I would be if I didn't have a YouTube channel with tons of time to hunt for graphics cards like I've been doing, but there's also a second type of person that will get some serious value out of a video like this. And that's for those of you that are not only still trying to put together your very first gaming PC during objectively the worst time in PC building and PC gaming history, but also you're trying to do it on a budget. I explained in my recent GPU buyer's guide for late 2021 video a couple of my favorite ways to secure graphics cards, but those mostly involve buying newer and more expensive GPUs. But for those of you that want the more budget options, this here is my absolute favorite graphics card that you can easily find, and it's repeatable under $200, and it's none other than the GTX 970. Now that probably doesn't come as a surprise to some of you that have been really paying attention to my content. I've been talking about it a lot over the last couple of months, and today I'm gonna show you how to find one, and then we're gonna benchmark the heck out of it. We have this beautiful new testing rig that I assembled on a Twitch live stream a couple of weeks ago just to test out the GTX 970. I actually built it with Brett from UFD Tech, by the way, and he's gonna be showing up for a few more live streams, so make sure you're following me over on twitch.tv/ZachsTechTurf. But yeah, this is our testing rig for the day, and you absolutely know that we have Windows 10 activated on here because that's exactly what you should do for all of your gaming PC builds and gaming PC flips. Today's video is sponsored by ICMMO.com, which is kindly hooking you guys up with not just an activated version of Windows 10 and removing that nasty watermark, but they're also giving you guys an exclusive AF 35% discount code if you use ZAH35. Buying keys are super simple. Just head on down to the links in the description. Once you add that Windows 10 key to your cart, make sure you use the discount code ZAH35, and that'll drop the price down to less than 10 bucks. There's a ton of different ways to pay, including PayPal, and after buying, you'll be able to extract your key. From there, simply press the start button on your desktop, type in activation, paste in your key, and boom, Windows 10 is now activated and you're good to go. Head on down to the links in the description, and big thanks again to ICMMO.com for sponsoring today's video. All right, so before jumping into the benchmarks, let's talk about the price and how exactly to find a GTX 970. The reason why these cards are so popular right now is because the GTX 970 was an absolute monster price to performance graphics card when it first launched with the other 900 series GPUs, and I'm not sure how many of you remember this, but the most popular card in that lineup without question was indeed the 970. That was several years ago now, and since RTX 3000 series cards are in such high demand, I would only have to guess that there are certainly some people that have upgraded recently from their 970 to a 3000 card. This is also probably happening for people that like to keep one GPU as a backup. So for example, you had a 970 and then you eventually upgraded to a 1080 or like a 2070 Super or something, but you kept your 970 just in case. But now that the 3000 series cards are a little bit easier to find these days, you upgraded again, and now it's time to sell your GTX 970. The reason why people are selling their 970s isn't super important for this conversation. Those reasons are just my personal guess, to be honest. But either way, this card is super easy to find right now for less than 200 bucks, and that's all that really matters. The best place, in my opinion, to find a GTX 970 under $200 is easily Mercari. You definitely can try websites like eBay, but in my experience, those cards don't last nearly as long on there because I think eBay is just watched like a hawk by thousands and thousands of people, and over on Mercari, it's just a bit more relaxed, so you have more time to find things that are actually in stock. The other cool thing about Mercari is that you can save specific search terms like the GTX 970 for sale, and then you can set up alerts on your phone every time a new listing is posted, which will certainly increase your chances at getting one. I've personally been paying anywhere from $170 to $180 for these cards, as $200 is too easy to find, so you really should try to get it a bit cheaper. But if you look at this for sale page, this paints a perfect picture of what I'm talking about. Here you can see that all different models of the 970 have sold for prices like $200, $185, $210, $200, $207, $235, $180, $173, $200, $190, etc., etc. All of those prices that I just said were sold within just the last 2 days. 2 days. That's how much volume is happening right now, and that's just on Mercari. So when I tell you this card is easy to find, I really mean it. And unlike eBay, these are just the normal buy it now prices. I'm not showing you prices of people that like stalked eBay for hours and hours and just spent all that time trying to win a bidding war. These are just the very normal prices of Mercari. Some of them might have been a little bit lowball compared to the original price, but these are just the normal prices that you're finding. Now, you may indeed be questioning if the GTX 970 is worth it for around 170 to 180, and rightfully so, mind you, and that's because just 1 to 2 years ago before the shortage, these cards were being sold between $90 and $120, and that was some serious value. But I've said it before, and I'll say it again, prices before the GPU shortage are completely irrelevant. I've been saying for months now that I personally don't think that prices are ever gonna get back to how they were, especially when we're hearing stories that like NVIDIA might be holding GPUs and not selling them to artificially continue increasing demand. I don't know if that's true or whatnot, but regardless, I don't think we're ever gonna get to how the prices used to be. If you're still in the camp of comparing everyone's GPU deals now and how they were last year, you, my friend, are literally just behind the times right now, and you definitely need to move on and realize how things are right now. Complaining about old GPU prices and thinking that we're gonna ever see them again how they were is like when my grandpa talks about how he could go to the movie theater and get popcorn for a nickel. It's funny to hear a story about that, also kind of scary when you think about how much the dollar has inflated, but everyone simply understands that things will not get back to that point again. Rant aside though, if you're looking at the market today, like right now, and like the last 6 to 8 months or so, this is how the prices are currently at, and the GTX 970 continues to be one of the most repeatable options under $200. So let's benchmark it. This here's my testing rig specifically designed for this GPU. Well, it's not actually specifically designed for it, and I just wanted to build an all-white gaming PC that I could sell on my website using this Zotac RTX 3060, but regardless, it's gonna be perfectly fine for our testing rig today. For the CPU, it's rocking a 6-core and 12-threaded Ryzen 5 5600X, which needs no extra explanation at this point. Just know that the GTX 970 will be nowhere close to being bottlenecked by it, and that's all that really matters for a GPU testing video. The motherboard it's plugged into is the colorful B550M Gaming Frozen, and shout out to Segotep for sending this one out actually. This is easily one of the best looking, almost all white motherboards on the market today, and it's not crazy expensive, which is perfect. A couple things that I like about it are the RGB options with the iGame dynamic light. The VRM power design is good enough and solid. There's multiple M.2 SSD slots, and there's a full cover cooling fin for cooling your main NVMe SSD. And speaking of which, the SSD that we have in here is the T-Force Cardia Z440 1TB drive, and big shout out to Team Group for continuing to supply your boy with all of these amazing parts. Team Group is also sponsoring a $2,200 gaming PC giveaway where they sent all of the parts to me so that I could assemble and give it away to one of you guys. That giveaway is still live, so make sure you click the card in the upper right hand corner or the link down in the description to get yourself entered into that. Back to the Z440 though, this NVMe drive is sporting read and write speeds of 5,000 over 4,400, which is blazing fast, and there's also this super thin heatsink sticker on here which has some decent heat dissipation as well. Links to this and everything we talk about for this build are indeed down in the description, but moving on here we get to the RAM, and this is the Corsair LPX 2x16GB kit that's clocked at 3200 megahertz. 32GB is certainly a bit overkill for testing a GTX 970, but I had to ensure that we didn't have any bottlenecks with games that use above 16GB of RAM, so we had to go with a tried and true RAM kit from Corsair, plus it looks clean AF. Corsair also sent out this power supply, and this is the 650F RGB. This is a fully modular design with a sexy RGB fan, which we aren't taking advantage of in a build like this unfortunately, but it's also 80+ bronze certified and rated tier B on the LTT tier list. So those are all of the important performance parts that we are testing with today. Like I said, we definitely don't have any bottlenecks that would affect our GPU testing, which is what's important, but here is indeed a list of everything else inside this gaming PC. I'm actually going to be selling this build with the white Zotac RTX 3060, which looks super clean by the way, over on my website zaxtechdrift.com, like I do with all my other PC builds. Keep your eyes peeled on that one if you're interested. Going back to our GTX 970 though, let's gear up for another crazy benchmarking run that of course Sam whipped up, and starting with Halo Infinite using 1080p and medium settings, we got over that 60 mark with a very solid 67 FPS. Yep, this is a pretty demanding brand new title that this 970 is still cranking out over 60 FPS with, take note. Fortnite was up after that, and this is indeed tested with the brand new Chapter 3, and in 1080p with Pro settings, we got a 185 average FPS. Far Cry 6 followed up next, and when using the built-in benchmarking tool in 1080p with medium settings, we got 54 FPS, but you could certainly get above 60 if you absolutely have to with 1080p and low settings. For another built-in benchmarking tool, we use Rainbow Six Siege, and in 1080p with high settings, this game was still no match for this card as we got 177 FPS. Next up, we tested Grand Theft Auto 5. We don't use the built-in benchmarking tool because I prefer to just get out in the world with this one for testing to see how it actually performs, and in 1080p with high settings, it performed pretty well actually with 146 frames per second. Forza Horizon 5 tailed after that, and we do indeed use the built-in benchmarking tool for this one. Keep in mind that the results of this benchmark are like the absolute worst case scenario, and you can actually get like 10 to 20 more FPS out in the world during normal races, but here in 1080p with medium settings, we got just over that 60 mark with 62. Valorant was up next, and in 1080p with medium settings, we probably should have skipped this one because we got an obnoxious result of 334 FPS, but that's mostly due to our super overkill Ryzen 5 5600X, as most of you know. And for the last gaming title that we have footage for, we have Valheim, and in 1080p with high settings, which is still no easy task for budget GPUs by the way, we got 70 FPS. Just like always, we ran 3D Mark's Time Spy, and this GTX 970, 32 gigabytes of RAM, and Ryzen 5 5600X system scored 3,990. And then just because I know some of you are here to truly see how this card performs, we benchmarked 10 more games for you guys, and here are the results. As you can see from this benchmarking run, the GTX 970 can still play legitimately any AAA title that you throw at it in 1080p with 60 FPS, or at least super close to it because of that 58 score from Red Dead Redemption 2. But either way, this is exactly why I love this graphics card here in late 2021 and going into 2022. You're getting so much value here for not a terrible price. Hopefully this video and specifically the benchmarking section shed some light on you for this GTX 970. If you want to see me check out a different card, preferably on a budget, then feel free to comment down below which one you want to see me check out. Also, feel free to click the GPU buyer's guide video that's on the screen now, which will definitely help you out even more with getting a graphics card right now. And just like always, I hope you enjoyed this video.